people in the TV land.
So we had Kajakhotellet with Petr Major, who's come all the way from Prague to paddle to Nordkap and back again. Peter, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Petr Major, and I am crazy guy from Czech Republic. That's what I've been called. I am a sea kayak coach, and I've been kayaking. That's one thing people want to know: how long you kayak for. So since 2009, and basically so far I've done about 3,000 kilometers on the sea. This trip is actually already 4,000, which is nice. And I've kayaked the south coast and southwest coast of England, and that was basically my first trip I ever done. And the reason for the trip was I wanted to become a sea kayak guide and coach, and I thought, like, if you wanna howl on the moon with the wolves, you have to become one of them. So I decided to do the trip to get a really compressed experience of what the kayaking is about, because I think it's important when you go out and take people, you know what the sea is doing. So I went and did this trip, and when I finished I got an offer in sea kayaking Cornwall, which are very good coaches, and I stayed there for 2 seasons and learned a lot how to do stuff. And basically since then I do sea kayaking, and even more I got into sea kayak building. So that's one part I was really interested in, and I started to build my own boats and do trips in them. So my last trip was actually in a boat. I built it on a houseboat and I kayaked the south coast of UK in it in 10 paddling days, and that was starting on 2nd of January, so that was full winter. That was for me the most hardcore trip I've done so far. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, still it's a different project. It's a long project. This one.
Yeah, this one is one of the questions is the usual is why would you do a trip like that? And for me, I had very good experience, and I had very good time on the UK trip. That was 3 months long trip, and if I say honestly why, it's just I wanna know what is it like live in a tent for 6 months and just the wilderness and cooking outside and just being close to nature is the really main reason for it. There is not something deep like going the biggest trip or the fastest or the longest. For me, it's not about the competition or the est on the end. It's just being kind of a sea gypsy. You know, it's nice. You go with a kayak, and when you come to whatever place, you just meet people you would, if you came to the same spot as a tourist in a car, you would never speak to them, like that you are the odd one. Like, what are you doing here in that orange thing? Why? From there? Are you crazy? And that's the normal question, but then you can ask them why they live there, what their life is like. And for me, it's like collecting those stories. That's really nice.
Why did you want to go to Nordkap from Prague? I mean, that's just the basic idea of it. Is
yeah. There is few reasons. I've been in Norway before on a trip with just Jeff Allen, and it just kind of got along. The trip, I didn't do any research. Nothing, so I knew nothing about Norway. Literally, I just knew it's up north, it's cold and it's dark, and that's what I thought of it. And a friend of mine told me it's really pretty there. And when we just landed with the plane, I was like, oh, this is just awesome. Because since I was small, I'm from a country with no sea, we are landlocked. And my dream was always to be on a place where you can be under the mountains next to the sea, and I always thought that's just only either Patagonia or Vancouver in Canada or Alaska, and I had no idea a place like that is in Europe, so I was pretty stupid. And when I came there, I just loved it, and then I thought like, yeah, I'll go there, and for a while I was thinking how to do the trip. And then one of the reasons why I do it in a kayak from Prague is actually it's very simple. It's nice challenge. Like doing the Elbe River was quite tough. Not technically just anyone could just get in the boat and paddle in 3 weeks and finish in Hamburg. But for me, because I like nice big mountains and a lot of waves and sea, that was quite hard. I've actually never paddled in a sea kayak on a river before. I learned kayaking on the sea and never been on a river before, so that was quite new for me. And okay, skipping. The reason why from Prague is also money, because if I thought like how much money do I have to pay for somebody to get me to, let's say, south of Scandinavia to Sweden, and then drive back and I pay for the fuel, it's maybe 4 times more than if I just paddle it. So I got to Copenhagen from Prague. It took me about a month. It's a great adventure, and it cost me no more than 100 euros. You know, so that's one of the reasons. The sea kayaking, once you've got all the gear and all the equipment, it becomes really cheap. So even my budget for the entire trip is about 1,000 euros. So I've got, I don't know how much is it. It's like 3 euros, no, 5 euros a day, or even less. And you don't need much more. As long as I have coffee, it's alright.
So yeah, you've been on the water for 30 days now. I mean, you still haven't even begun your trip. So you still have maybe 5-6 months to go.
5 months to go. The trip is. I was thinking about the name for the trip. Actually, that was my friend's idea. I asked him if he would work on my website, like do the updates, because this trip I wanted to try to make it public, so it can inspire people to do stuff. And he was like, "What is it gonna be called?" Like I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I just paddled to North Cap and back." So then the idea came like Prague North Cap loop and all this, and then I just decided like 180-day trips. And the reason for that is that it actually is not like one big trip, but it's easier to look at it like on day paddles. And in bigger scale it looks like a really massive project, but it can be as simple as literally 180-day paddles. And if you would take somebody who has not much experience in kayak and you tell him like, can you paddle 30k a day? You go, oh, that's quite a lot, but I think I could do it. If you ask him, can you do 6,000 kilometers in a kayak? You go, that's too much, I couldn't do it. And if you tell him, could you do 30 kilometers 180 times? That looks more doable than just 6,000 kilometers. You know, so that's other reason for the name. So just take it in tiny little steps, and it's also the way you live the life. You cannot think in Copenhagen about the weather on North Cap. You just think about the area where you are. You are looking on the map just for the next day. There is no point looking for the map like in months in advance. You just take it in day. What do you call it? Day doses. That's the one.
So how long have you been planning the trip?
I've been actually planning the trip for honestly planning it, thinking about it, that was for about a year, but I just didn't know how to do it. I literally wanted to circumnavigate Scandinavia, because when I did the UK, that was my idea, but I didn't succeed. I had just 30 days locked in a sea kayak before I started the trip, and I never paddled alone, never paddled loaded kayak. So the first time I got on the sea in the UK, that was force 9 winds, and I literally, my trip started with 2 days of just waiting the weather, and I didn't know if I'm gonna last 1 week, 2 weeks or 2 months. And I did the west coast. I think I've done most of the really rough part of UK. That was good, but I didn't make it back to the beginning. So for me it was quite interesting to do the loop, like the entire Scandinavia. And for a long time I was just looking like, how do I do the part which is land just from top of Norway to the south Gulf of Bothnia. And first I thought only like doing it on the water, and you could go to Russia and there is White Sea and there is another canal which leads to Gulf of Bothnia. So in theory you could actually go in a kayak all the way around, but when I was doing some research, it's just inaccessible in Russia. They just don't let you go through the canals. So that was out of question, and then I dropped it for a while, just focus on building my kayak. And then one day I was just, fuck it, I'll just drag it over. And that was literally the idea. I just take the kayak when I get to the north, put it on a trolley and pull it down. So I looked on Google Earth. Oh, there is a road. It goes from north to the south. Looked on the map, 550 kilometers. And it was simple as that. And then the loop kind of closed for me. And then I said, okay, I'll do it. And that's how the idea came, to do it this way. And coming to Prague all the way again, it's very nice. It shows you that all the rivers go into the sea and then they go back. And I think for me, because I wanna motivate people, I think it's nice way. You, even when it's flat calm, you get in. It took me, I think, about 16 days to get, or no, 13 days to get to Lübeck Canal, which is here. It's just before Hamburg.
Yeah, let's have a look at the map. So
Yeah.
we go from the beginning.
Yeah, so we start in Prague. There is the Moldau River, and I literally start in the center under Charles Bridge, and then I paddle here to the Elbe, and then you go up this way. This seems really fast with a finger on the map. Yeah, where it is. That goes like that. Here, here. And my first option was that I go through Hamburg, and there is another canal up here. But this is like 180 kilometers. This is very busy. And then I realized there is the Lübeck Canal, which goes from the Elbe and finish here, and you are pretty much in the Baltic.
You realized that on the way or before?
Sorry?
You realized that before the trip or?
No, that was before. But
Okay.
actually that was like halfway through the planning. So for 3 months the plan was going this way and like that.
Okay.
And then I just looked in detail and found this canal. I was like, brilliant, because that saves me about a week of paddling. You know, so, and for me like not really exciting paddling. So got to the Lübeck, and then I went this way. Yeah, like that here, through the islands, up to Copenhagen.
So when you left Germany, where did you go from?
I go from here, around the coast, there, and then open crossing. This is not very big, but this one is 21 kilometers, and then follow this way. And this all is really shallow, so that was hard going like that, here, and then there, and then we've got another one. But yeah, the river part was for me good. Another part of this trip is actually doing speeches at schools and stuff, and motivate motivate people, especially young people, to go out. So it's good trip for somebody who likes forest and doesn't have allergy to blooming flowers. It's actually nice. My problem was that I started quite early, and when I get to Germany, the trees, they had no leaves. It was like after winter, and just going through, you could see every day the leaves opening, but my eyes were getting more and more crying, and my nose was just like that big. It's like couldn't breathe properly and stuff. But there are some really nice places. I know not everyone likes big seas, or especially in my country, because we are landlocked. We don't know much about the sea. I learned about tide, that there is actually tide when I was something like 25. Till then I had no idea that there is actually something like tidal range. So yeah, the idea was kids can just, or like young people can take a kayak or a canoe or inflatable kayak and just make a little adventure. And I actually met few guys on the Elbe, and they made what do you call it? This like floating thing from logs or barrels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where they transport
The
the logs.
Now you make it actually like when you are shipwrecked on an island, you cut the trees and you put this thing together out of it, the floating platform, and then you go out. And I met guys like this on the Elbe, and they were maybe like 8 of them with their teacher. It's like, how long you've been on the journey? It's like, it took us about 2 months, and on weekends they get on this little craft, and they kind of go with the flow. It has safety engine, but they don't use it, so they are just chilling out, and I could see them. They are pretty cold. It was really cold. That was awesome.
But you had some good speed through the river.
Yeah, actually, when I got on the Elbe, there was a lot of rain in Czech mountains and all over, so the river was very high, so I was doing about 15 kilometers an hour. So, and my boat is going about 7, so I got a really big push, and once I cross the border from Czech, it gets really quite steep, so I was doing 90k a day, and that was in pretty much 9 hours of paddling, 8 hours of paddling with stops. You are just flying. But the problem is that the river gets about 50k from the border. It gets regulated, and you've got kind of like little dams on the sides of the river just to get the water into the middle, so the big ships can go through, or I don't know, whatever is the reason. And that's quite tricky because it makes lots of whirlpools, and you go with the kayak, it just hit a whirlpool and it spins you 90 degrees, so you turn it back and then spins you. So I think that I paddled distance maybe twice. I literally like zigzag through Germany to Lubeck, and the water goes, you can actually see, like when you've got the regulation dams there, you're looking on the water and it goes uphill. It literally is uphill, it's just holding there, so you paddle, and then you've got 80 kilo heavy kayak and just slows down, and you have to really push it up the hill. Then you go down, so you get some speed, one paddle gets in the whirlpool, so it just slips through the water, the other one goes like, it's very hard grip because it gets the other side of the whirlpool, and you can get no rhythm. You just don't get like nice paddling like on the sea, where you just go and you get it in the rhythm, you just keep on going. This one is very irregular. I had one storm on the river, and that was really nice. It's really windy. I wouldn't expect I get like wave maybe like 30-40 centimeters on the river. Very, very choppy, but I just love it. That's when I feel alive. For me, the worst is when it's just flat, calm and sunny and glossy. I just hate that. But if I have just windy and waves, I hate it too. So I am always complaining.
Yeah, so that's the first leg of the trip, more or less.
Yeah.